Okay, time to put the gearbox in. So always remember this gear goes around this way so your dogs can engage it. Don't put it in that way, put it in that way. So I'll see how we go. The hand will probably be in the way and I apologise for that, but this can be a little bit ticky touch to get in and all around the wrong way, the wrong way that I usually do it. So you've got to have this in there. Slide that down, and they have to engage like that. So you usually get this first popper, it takes ages. So just trying to get it through that gear there. Make sure I'm holding it up so that bottom gear is in mesh with the main shaft gear, and that's it. Okay, as you can see, got clutch basket on, and behind this sprocket here is your thrust washer. So when you're putting it on, just use the scriber to reach up and centralise it, and just give it a light tap with a like a soft hammer, hide hammer, just to make sure that this is seated all the way in and that your thrust washer is nice and centralised. So the other thing too is that the washer that goes on here is a hardened and ground washer. I've come across these where they've just put normal washers in, which deform up really badly. So when you're going to torque it, you don't get a correct torque on the nut. So make sure that that washer is like the proper item, a hardened and ground one. All right, now we're going to torque up our nut. Now the torque on this is 50 foot-pound. You can see we've got the special spanner to grip it. It's pretty crucial that when you're doing your looking over your inspection and all things, that you make sure that this nut's in good condition for this very reason here, because you've got to try and get that socket in as far as you can, because you're pulling a fair bit of torque on it. So here we go. That's it. Now, the next big thing, do not forget to put that in. It is so easy to leave that out. And I'm speaking from experience. Yeah, nothing worse than getting a whole clutch pack together, looking down and seeing that on the bench. So get that in right now so you don't forget it. Alright, we've just put our primary drive sprocket on. That's what this side of this spanner's for, and the torque is exactly the same as that nut there, 50 foot-pound. Okay, now we're up to, I just dropped it back in the oil, so I'll let that run off. Alright, now we're back into assembling our clutch. So you can see by the colour of the clutch plates, they've now taken on a bit of oil. Get all this together. And we've got that all in. Now, part of the reason why I tilt the engine over on its side is so I can fit the clutch springs in without having to sort of fit them in the cap and try and flick it up to hold them all in. Because the problem with that is sometimes you can sort of squash them out a bit sideways. That's why the cap's on. Alright, so we've got our clutch springs in here. This is my own design clutch compressor tool, and I know some of the ones that are commercially available, I think they're a bit ticky touch. So this has got a little bar over here that locates in there that stops the, my hands in the way, sorry. Just drop a little pin through there, and that stops it spreading. So now we're just going to line this all up and start compressing it. Right, so now I get it to about there, just before it's going to go into the clutch basket, and I have a look around and make sure all my clutch springs are compressing squarely, that none of them have slipped out before I go all the way down. Right, your snap ring. When you put your snap ring in, make sure the ends are overlapping one of these tanks. We'll just another go. Okay. Now the next thing is screwdriver. Which I'm having trouble finding. Before you release the pressure on the clutch compressor, just make sure this is in the groove all the way around. Now for some reason this one's not sitting, there we go, that's a bit better. So I just pull it out all the way around, make sure it's sitting all the way in, and I have a look to make sure that's seated all the way in, all the way around, and it's not around here. And it's not here. So going all the way around. Go in a little bit more here. Right, I'm happy with that. I'm going to release the pressure on the... Now this plate here has a lip all the way around the edge. So you go around again and make sure that's seated all the way in that lip, because it helps retain it. And if this pops out, you're in dire straits. And there we go. It's our clutch pack in, clutch cover on, and we'll just get a little hammer and we'll just tap that on and we'll get our screws in. Okay, so we've got our clutch cover on now. We're just putting our clutch screws, cover screws in with our shake-proof washers. Now, if you're ever doing a very early Bantam engine, like 1948, and I'm not sure, probably into 1949 as well, they actually didn't have a clutch cover. So, if you've got a YD engine that doesn't have the clutch cover, it may be that it never came out with one. So I would recommend fitting one, and I do have second-hand stock of these, because it stops your clutch basket spreading. Alright, dropping our primary drive cover on. So I've already put sealant underneath the gasket, just lining up my gasket to make sure all my screw holes clear. The other big thing is this dowel right here. If you've got persistent Kickstarter problems where your Kickstarter won't return, have a look and make sure that that dowel's actually in there. This bike came here without that dowel in it, so we'll just get this cover on, line it up with our dowels, and she's on. I'm just pushing the gasket in a bit to pinch up on that. Now the other thing too is, in your gasket set you'll have these little fibre washers, and they go on primary drive cover. So I'll just drop a tiny bit of sealant around those as well when I drop them in and do them up. Okay, so I've got the primary drive cover on, and whilst the engine was on its side, I dropped in the sump plug and the case drain plug. What I'm doing now is wiping off the excess sealant. And what I'll do is I get a scalpel and I just trim off the excess gasket. Just like this. It's just one of those little touches you do that just makes the job a bit more professional. So I'll go around and I'll trim off all my excess gasket all the way around.